In my editorial, I said why I think that our cricket team should play against Afghanistan. Daisy, what do you think? Should we be freezing them out because of what the Taliban's doing over there or not?
I don't actually have a problem with that happening, Kayla, but I think if you're going to do that, you have to be consistent. I mean, you also mentioned that, sure, they're freezing them out at the test game in Afghanistan, but they're still hosting them on home soil and they're, facing their Afghani players. So there's a large inconsistency there in principle and, stepping sideways a little bit. But to me, it kind of smacks of Qantas kicking up a stink about Israel Folau either being allowed or not allowed to play, but at the same time partnering up with Emirates, which is based in a country where homosexuality is illegal and terrible. I mean, okay, if you're going to do this, fine. I think we're all concerned about the rights of women and girls under the Taliban, to say the least. I mean, women are not allowed to play sport over there. So look, if you're going to do it, okay, fine, do it. But for goodness sake, commit to it, or we're all just going to accuse you of virtue signalling.
Well, you can't tell me, Alexandra, that the Taliban is going to wake up tomorrow and go, oh my God, Australia said they're not going to play cricket against us, therefore we're going to reverse the ban on women being able to play sport. It just feels like a political decision that was made to make Cricket Australia look good at home that doesn't actually do anything, and if anything disadvantages the poor people of Afghanistan who by no choice of their own have to live under the Taliban.
Well, let's remember that sport is what you do when you're not waging war. So it's like a proxy for war. So if you've just finished a war with an actual terrorist regime, you wouldn't exactly go and play sport with them for a while. The idea of an international community of sport is you set ground rules saying, well, if you're going to be a member of this international community, you have to abide by certain standards. And sport is a reward for a government behaving properly. And so it is a well-tried and tested and historic way of trying to get regimes to play better, because if they're excluded, well, then they don't have any national pride. And that matters to a terrorist regime. And that is why it works. So in this case, I would say, well, we've been doing it for a long time and it is a terrorist regime. They do treat the women appallingly and they should have to adhere to the same standards as every other team in the competition, which is to have a women's team, and they don't have one. So either they comply with that or yes, exactly, they should be excluded.
So you think that the Taliban will be hurt by this decision?
Of course they will be. It's like the regimes in Europe of last century, especially the Russian regime. They take it very personally. It reflects poorly on their regime amongst their totalitarian community if they're being excluded by world events, because it's seen as a bad reflection on their regime and their power structures. So yes, it does actually work, despite what people think.
Well, there we go, 2-1. I could be wrong here tonight.